The median American has $500 saved for an emergency. $500. That is one flat tire and one urgent care visit away from a financial crisis. And if you're sitting there right now in your 30s wondering whether you're on track, wondering if you've done enough, saved enough, built enough, I need you to hear something. You are not behind because you are broken. You are behind because nobody gave you the blueprint. Meet Denise. She's 34 years old. She lives in Columbus, Ohio. She makes $85,000 a year. She has $42,000 in a 401k and about $1,200 in savings. On paper, she's doing okay, but in her gut, she's terrified because she has no idea if any of it is enough. By the end of this video, you are going to have the exact 10 steps that turn a situation like hers into something nobody can shake. A financial fortress, not built on a giant salary, not built on getting lucky, built on small decisions made in the right order starting right now. And step number 10 is the one most people never reach. It does not show up on any balance sheet, but it might be the most important step of all. Quick note, I'm not a financial advisor or government employee. Everything here is for educational purposes only. For your specific situation, always check with a qualified professional. Let's build this thing, step by step. The foundation. Your savings rate changes everything. Step 1. Save 15 to 25% of your income consistently. Not once, not when the market is hot, every single month. Here's why this matters more than anything else you'll hear today. The current United States personal savings rate just dropped to 2.6%. That's from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, May 2026. The long-run historical average is 8.4%. So the average American is saving less than a third of what past generations saved. Meanwhile, Fidelity recommends saving at least 15% of your pre-tax income every year, including any employer match. 15%! Most people aren't even close. But here's the good news. Your savings rate is the single most powerful financial lever you have. Not your stock picks, not timing the market, your savings rate. Someone saving 20% of $80,000 a year will almost always build more wealth than someone earning $160,000 who saves nothing. Double the income, zero savings. The 20% saver wins every single time. Now, step 2, your net worth should start to outgrow your income. Somewhere in your late 30s or early 40s, something magical happens. Your money starts making money. Your contributions built the first phase, but now your assets start to build the second. That's when compounding stops being a slow drip and becomes a snowball. The competitor video you may have seen on this topic says Fidelity recommends 4 times your income by 40. That's actually wrong. Fidelity's real milestone is 3 times your income by 40, 1 times by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, 10 times by 67. And here's something that should make you feel better. The median net worth for Americans aged 35 to 44 is $135,300. That's from the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finance. Most people are well behind the Fidelity targets. That's normal. You're not failing. You're at the starting line, and the runway ahead of you is long. Let me prove it. Say you are 40 years old. You have $160,000 invested. You save $1,000 a month going forward. No raises, no promotions. Worst case. At 6% average return, you reach roughly $1.35 million by 65. At 7%, $1.63 million. At 8%, just under $2 million. That is the power of time plus consistency. You do not need to be a millionaire at 40 to retire a multimillionaire. You need to stay the course. A strong foundation is everything. But what good is it if one bad month cracks the whole thing wide open? That is what the walls are for. The walls become hard to destroy. Step 3. Build an emergency fund. 3 to 12 months of expenses, sitting in cash untouched. Here's the stat that should make everyone stop scrolling. 59% of Americans would not cover a $1,000 emergency from their savings. That's from Bankrate's 2026 Emergency Savings Report. And 24% have absolutely zero saved for emergencies. The median amount Americans have set aside for emergencies? $500. And millennials, even lower, just $300. Think about that. One car repair, one emergency room visit, one broken furnace, and more than half the country is scrambling. Now, some people think of an emergency fund as just protection against the job loss, and it is. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says 27.5% of unemployed Americans have been looking for work for over 6 months. That's a long time to survive without income. But an emergency fund is more than job loss protection. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic boss. It's the freedom to leave a bad relationship. It's knowing you don't have to stay anywhere, a job, a city, a situation, because no matter what, you can keep the lights on. That's not lazy money sitting in a savings account. That's freedom money. And I'll take that over a new car any day of the week. Now, step 4, get your housing costs under control. This is the one that quietly destroys more budgets than any bad investment ever could. The median home price in the United States just hit $429,300. That's a record. 30-year mortgage rates are sitting near 6.5%, and according to the Harvard Joint Center for Housing Studies, 49% of renters are now spending more than 30% of their income on housing. That's a record high for the 4th straight year. 24% of homeowners are in the same boat. Here's the benchmark. Keep your housing at or below 28% of your gross income, and lump your vehicle costs into that calculation too, because housing and cars are the 2 biggest monthly obligations you'll ever face. Get those 2 right and automate your savings, and you have just made 3 of the most powerful financial decisions of your life. If your housing is dialed in by 40, not stretched, not one bad month from panic, that's a wall nobody can knock down. Walls up, foundation solid, but inside those walls, what are you actually building? Because this next part is where most people quietly fall apart. The vault. Build what actually lasts. Step 5. Build real retirement assets. Not just cash, real invested assets that grow while you sleep. You can earn 6 figures and still retire broke. It is documented. It happens at every income level. Because income is spendable. And when we spend it all, we look up one day and ask, where did it go? Real wealth looks like a 401k growing in the background, an IRA compounding year after year, an HSA, one of the most powerful and overlooked accounts in America, quietly building a tax-free healthcare fund. For 2026, the 401k contribution limit is $24,500. The IRA limit is $7,500. HSA limits are $4,400 for individuals and $8,750 for families. And if you are over 50, catch-up contributions let you add even more. One new thing for 2026 that a lot of people missed, under Secure 2.0, if you earn over $150,000, your 401k catch-up contributions now have to go in as Roth, after tax. That matters for high earners, and it is worth knowing. The strong milestone here is simple. Automate your contributions. Make them invisible. Make sure that every time you get a raise, your future self gets a raise too. Step 6. Protect your vault from catastrophe. This is the most underrated step on this entire list. 62% of Gen X, people roughly 40 to 55 right now, have 0 estate planning documents. No will, no power of attorney, no healthcare directive, nothing. That comes from the Trust and Will 2026 report, surveying 5,000 adults. And here's a number that gets misquoted all the time, so I want to get it exactly right. A study published in the American Journal of Public Health found that medical issues contributed to 66.5% of bankruptcies, not caused, contributed to. That includes medical bills, income lost from illness, or both. That is 2 out of every 2 bankruptcy filings. You can do everything right, save, invest, build, and one uninsured medical event can knock the entire tower down. A basic estate plan, a will, a power of attorney, and a healthcare directive costs around $1,500 to $2,000 with an attorney. That is one of the highest return investments a person can ever make. And while we're here, only 18% of Americans have disability insurance, but 1 in every 4 of today's 20-year-olds will become disabled before reaching retirement age. That's from the Social Security Administration. Health insurance, disability coverage, life insurance if anyone depends on your income, a will. These are not luxuries. These are the locks on your vault. Before I show you the next step, drop a comment right now. Which of these steps have you already done, and which one are you going to tackle first? I read every single comment. Your vault is full, your walls are up, but there's a silent thief that steals more wealth than any market crash, and 40% of high earners don't even see it coming. The gates, the silent wealth killer. Step 7. Control lifestyle creep. Here's a number that'll blow your mind. 40% of Americans earning over $300,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. That's from a Goldman Sachs report. Not people earning $30,000, people earning $300,000. And it gets worse. Goldman projects that 55% of all workers will be living paycheck to paycheck by 2033. The enemy is not low income. The enemy is the slow, invisible climb in spending that happens every time you get a raise. A slightly nicer car, a bigger apartment, dining out 4 nights instead of 2. Suddenly, you're making $200,000 a year and wondering where it all went. The fix is simple. Every time you get a raise, your portfolio gets a raise too. Treat yourself and your investments as equal priorities. Step 8. Automate everything. This is where it all comes together, because motivation is a terrible employee. It calls in sick, it gets distracted, it disappears in February. But systems don't care what mood you're in. They keep working no matter what. Automate your retirement contributions. Automate your bills. Automate your savings for vacations, for goals, for the life you actually want. And here's the power move. Automate even a small extra mortgage payment. On a $400,000 mortgage at 6.5%, adding just $200 a month drops the payoff from 30 years to about 24.5. You shave off 5.5 years and you save roughly $115,000 in interest from $200 a month. Set it and forget it. Now, here's the myth most people believe. Here's the myth. You need to pick the right investments to win. Here's the truth. You need to stay in your investments. The Dalbar quantitative analysis of investor behavior found that in 2024, the average equity investor earned 16.54%. The S&P 500 returned 25.02%. That is an 848 basis point gap in 1 year. Because people panicked. They sold at the wrong time. They sat in cash waiting for the right moment. And Fidelity tracked this from 2022 to 2025. A saver who started with $100,000, stayed invested, and kept contributing ended up with $191,000. Someone who bailed from stocks and stopped contributing, $105,000. That is $86,000 lost not to the market, but to their own behavior. Automate it. Leave it alone. Let it grow. 8 steps locked in. 2 left, and step 10 is the one I almost did not include in this video because it does not show up on any spreadsheet, but it might be the most important step of all. The freedom, the step most people never reach. Step 9. Build multiple streams of financial stability. Now, I want to reframe something that gets said a lot, but almost always gets said wrong. Multiple streams of income does not mean you need 6 side hustles. It does not mean you need to monetize your dog on Instagram or start an Etsy shop. Here is what it does mean. A 401k growing in the background. That is a future income stream. Social Security credits you've been earning your entire working life. That is a future income stream. Home equity building silently, a working spouse, a taxable brokerage account. These are all streams. Some you are actively building, some are building themselves, and all of them are quietly creating a future where you are not dependent on any single source. 65.9% of Fidelity 401k participants now have their entire balance in a single target date fund. That is full automation. Set it once, let it ride. That is one stream running on autopilot right now while you focus on living your life. Step 10. Buy back your time. This is the one. Here's what the data says. Gallup found that non-retirees expect to retire at 66, but actual retirees report leaving at 61 or 62. There's always a gap between the plan and reality because life does not wait for your spreadsheet to be ready. Health changes, companies downsize, family needs shift. That's exactly why you build the fortress before you need it, not after. Buying back time looks like saying no to the project that would eat your weekend, walking away from a job that's draining your soul, hiring someone to clean the house so you get your Saturday back, going part-time, going freelance, going anywhere you want. A pot of money is just a pot of money. What makes it matter is what it lets you do with your life. Now let me tell you what happened to Denise.
She is 40 now. She automated 20% of her income starting at 34. She has 3 times her income invested, 6 months in an emergency fund sitting in a high-yield savings account. Her housing costs are 26% of gross. She signed her will last year, got disability coverage through work, and just last month, she turned down a Sunday work call, not because she did not care about her job, but because she did not have to say yes. She's not rich by any magazine standard, but she is unshakable. Nobody can force her into a decision she does not want to make, and that is the whole point. A financial fortress is not built with big paychecks. It is built with small, boring decisions made over and over again until one day, nobody can touch you. Here's the heart of it. You do not need to have it all figured out by 40. You do not need to be a millionaire. You do not need to be perfect. You need a foundation, walls, a vault, strong gates, and the freedom to live on your own terms. If you have done 2 or 3 of these steps, you're ahead of most people. And if you're looking at this list thinking you have some work to do, that's actually the best position to be in, because your 30s and 40s are just the beginning. Your peak earning years are likely still ahead, and a little consistency from here can change everything. If someone you know is under 40 and wondering whether they're on track, send them this video right now. It could change how they see the next 25 years. Which of the 10 steps are you working on right now, and which one surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you're building income from your investments and want to stay ahead of what matters, subscribe to this channel. I cover everything that protects and grows your money. And if you want to see exactly how to build a retirement income stream from just 3 ETFs, that one is coming next.